Yeah, good morning everybody. I'm going to talk about the deployment and the system which we created about 2 years ago, which helps us to do deployment. But first of all, I want to understand who are you? So can you tell me who of you actually is doing the deployment? Who's busy with deployment operations? Okay, about 50%. So the other 50 is about, I think you're programmers, right? You're writing code. So why are you interested in deployment then? So you're planning to do deployment, right? So I'm not telling you now. I'm just trying to understand what part of it. Because I'm a programmer and I'm doing deployment as well. So I have a few applications, quite a few applications myself, and I deploy them as well. So I create them and I deploy them. I'm going to show you one application today, and I show you how I deploy that. But first of all, what languages do you work with? What do you write? You're a programmer. Java, Scala, C#, all right. And when you deploy stuff, what platform do you deploy? What language do you deploy? That's the first question. What are the languages? As well, Java. Anybody with PHP? Okay. Python? Yeah? Okay. So, and the question, where do you deploy to? What's your target platform? Where your code goes to? Say again? No, I mean, I'm not talking about the platform, but I'm talking the providers. You deploy to Amazon or anybody with Heroku? No. Amazon? AWS? Yes, no? Do you have your own servers? Nice. Yeah? Okay. Well, that's not good. And where do you keep that service? Kind of like local data centers or again? DigitalOcean, Amazon, Google, no? Just local data centers. Oh, that sucks. Okay. So I'll show you how we deploy. Well, I had that projects as well. And I have basically 3 slides. That's it. And then I'll show you the code. So first I'm going to explain the problems I had. Then I'll show you the solution which I introduced about 2 years ago. And I'll show you the demo how it works. That's right. So the problems. I was deploying a number of systems. One of them was PHP, a few of them were Java, a few of them were Ruby. And in all situations, I had the same, basically 3 big problems. I'll explain you how I was doing the deployment. And maybe you can correct me and say that I was doing it wrong, but probably you're doing almost the same. So I had, in the most, like long time ago, when it was PHP code, I was just doing FTP upload. So I have some PHP code on my computer, on my laptop, then I have FTP client, I know where it should be located, I know the destination server, so I just connect, I'm using the FTP client to upload my files there, and they just work. That's the primitive way. And then the projects were becoming bigger and more complex, and I started to use some tools which were helping me to locally to put this stuff together somehow. In PHP, it's not that much of a putting together because there's still files, but in Java, you need to build the jar file or to the war file or some package, jar or war basically, and then you need to upload this file to deploy that file to some container or to some application server to somewhere. And my biggest problem with both, I'm talking about 3 languages, PHP, Ruby, and Java, and the platforms were Amazon, AWS, Amazon Web Services, and it was just some shared hosting for PHP, and it was Heroku for Ruby. So the problems were the same. The first problem, the biggest one, was that in order to build this application locally somehow, to package it somehow, and then to deploy, I created some scripts. And these scripts were basically doing that primitive stuff of packaging the application and connecting to the destination server and uploading the stuff. It was quite difficult to create, it was easy to create the deployment script once. So you create it, you test it, it does work. You know what deployment script is, right? You're using it. You're not doing it manually every time, I assume. So you have some deployment scripts which help you to, you can run that script, and probably the name is deploy.sh, and it's a bash script which does some operations that probably half a page or something. So it does some operations which you don't want to do every time from scratch. So you just run this deploy.sh, and then it does something for you, and the files goes to production server. I was doing the same, but the problem is that there should be something around this script. So for example, Java has to be installed on my laptop. and there has to be the certain version of Java. And I need to have some operating system to be installed. I need to have some tools probably on top of Java. So Java by itself is not always enough. For PHP, the situation is even more, the problem is even bigger because I need to have some extra tools to be installed, like PHP unit, for example, because I always want to unit test my stuff before it goes to production. And that was a question for you. Do you unit test your stuff before it goes to production? So that's good. So that should be part of your deployment script. So you should do unit testing. But also we use, in my project, we also use static analysis. So we do some static analysis of the code to find that there could be some violations of the formatting of the code. So it's also good to prevent that before it goes to production. In Java and PHP, Ruby as well. Like in Ruby, we can use the Robocop. In PHP, it's PHP-CS. In Java, it's check style, for example. And then after that, we want to, for example, in PHP, we want to run the PHP lint, which will check that the code actually doesn't contain the syntax errors. That it's going to be possible to execute it on production. So all that steps, in order to execute them inside the deployment script, I need them to be installed on my computer. So I need them to have on my laptop, so they should stay around the deployment script. So my scripts deploy.sh is not gonna work. It's not my computer. It's not going to work if I just move that script from one laptop to another. If I reinstall my operating system or I change my laptop and I have, let's say, 15 different projects, which I deploy some of them every month, some of them once a year, some of them every day, then I reinstall the laptop or I change my laptop, then I can't run most of them. Because I need to remember what else needs to be installed around that deployment script. Does it sound familiar to you? Do you have a similar situation that your scripts are designed for not just for everybody, but just for you? So only you know how exactly to run it, and you know what needs to be installed or configured in order to make it work. So if it doesn't work, you have some special knowledge which you apply in order to fix the problem. That was my big problem. I had, like I'm telling you, like about 20 different projects. And I'm not talking only about web systems, which you package, deploy, and works online, but I'm talking also about libraries, let's say Java library. So I want this library to be packaged, I want this library to be deployed, not to the production web server, but to repository, let's say Maven Central. Or in Ruby, I want to deploy it to Ruby Gems. It's also a deployment procedure. It's also packaging of the library and then deploying it to in this case, this is not the production server, which makes it available for the web, but it's still a production, it's still a repository where many people will start using my library. So I have a few open source libraries which are quite popular, and people are gonna, as soon as I deploy the new version, then people will start using them. So I want to package this library and put it to production. And let's say in case of Ruby, there is Robocop of certain version, there is a Ruby of certain version which needs to be on the machine. And installing Ruby of specific version is not a 1 second operation. So you need to do something in order to configure your laptop so the Ruby of version 2.0.0 is going to be there. And by definition, for example, by default on Mac, it's 1.9.3. So you need to do something before you switch from 1.9.3 to 2.0.0. And that means that when you change the laptop, your script just doesn't work. So you can't deploy it. And it has to be just your script. So if there's somebody working with me, I cannot just send this script to somebody and say, hey, Jeff, this is your script, this is my script deploy.sh. When I'm sick, you just run it on your computer, it's going to work. Most probably it's not going to work. This Jeff will call me and ask, how does this script have to work and what do I need to do in order to run it? That was my first big problem, which I had for years. There was always some solutions. There was always some documentation on top of this deployment. When you open this deploy SS, there's going to be some text in front of it. So don't forget to install this, and that. If you don't know how to install Ruby of this version, go to this link, go to Stack Overflow, there's some documentation. So it's some information for me to go over again if I lose it in the video. That's how it was. That was the first problem. So is it familiar? You have to say what you understand the pain I'm talking about. So probably, in most cases, people don't want to admit that because they like to be in charge of this deployment scripts because it's kind of a job security. So if I only know how to deploy my stuff and they pay me for it, then it's really good that only I know how it works. So I don't want actually to share that knowledge. So maybe if you work on a payroll at some company and you want to stay there for as long as possible, then this is the perfect situation. In my case, it was quite the opposite. So I didn't want to stay as long as possible with this project. I wanted to put this project to detach from me. So I did some changes, but I don't want to be married to this project. I want to deploy them as easily as possible and not remember about how to do that. That's kind of knowledge I don't want to keep in my head. That was my problem number one. Problem number two, in big projects and small projects and all of them, is that when you run this deploy.sh, this deploy shell script, you lose the information, you lose the logs. So where does the log go to? Basically to your console. So you keep this log there, you look at the log, and then if it's successful, you're happy. If it's not successful, you're not happy, you run it again. But then in a few weeks, it's lost. So you don't know what happened a week ago. You don't know what happened a month ago. You don't know how exactly it was deployed a month ago, and why I can't deploy it right now. So if you run this deployment script in a month and it doesn't work, you can't get back to the previous deployment script, because to the previous log, because it's lost, it's gone. And I've seen situations on bigger projects where people actually were having the deployment server, so-called, so specifically installed server, which is for deployment. And this script deploy is staying there. And when you run this script, it's configured, so when it goes on, it automatically saves itself, all this out, saves to some file, and this file stays in some logs directory. That's I've seen like in two projects, I've seen that. So the administrators, DevOps guys, they configured that server, that deployment server they call, where the logs are stored in some directory. That's more or less, well, it's not nothing, it's something. You can get back to it and see the log. But if I'm talking about my laptop, I don't have this configuration, I lose all these logs, and I don't know the problems with the logs, and I don't know how it worked a month ago. I don't know what happened a month ago, or 2 weeks ago, or a year ago. And that's why when something breaks right now, and I can't deploy it, I can't compare how it worked before and why it doesn't work now. So that's the second problem. So I was losing these logs, I was losing them, and every time I want to redeploy the projects, and I'm talking about 20 different projects, then I have to jump in and start to investigate the situation from scratch, start to understand why it doesn't work. And that was not really convenient. Second problem, again, am I close to your pains? Do you have that, or you don't care about the logs? Not really. Well, you should. Yeah, you can send it as a mail. Yeah, that's right. That's one of the options. Yeah, you can configure the script so that every time it runs, it automatically sends itself as a mail and say, this is the result of my execution. And then you go to the mail, you search, you try to find by the date how exactly it happened, right? So you can do something like that. Yeah, you could put it in one directory or in one mail. So, yeah. So, who are you actually doing something with this logs? Okay, so most of you just ignore it, right? You just run the script and just go away, right? Okay, good. So now you should understand the pain. So probably again, you're quite comfortable with the situation that only you knows how it works, and you're comfortable with getting back to this deployment script in a month, and again investigating how to implement it. Which is not how it should be. You as a DevOps have to be as much detached from your deployment scripts as possible. So you shouldn't be the guy, you shouldn't be the person who knows everything about the deployment script. The script is the king, not you. So that's how the DevOps has to be configured. You have to configure the script so the script executes by itself and anybody can run. You should not be the master of the situation. You should not be always in control and always know what's going on. The script has to know. Maybe that's what you misunderstand. That's what I should be started the talk from. But that's the idea of DevOps in general. So the more automation we put in place, the more deployment is automated, the better for everybody. Maybe it's not so good for the job security. Again, it's not good for the person who's in charge. Because the more automation you put in place, the easier for them is to fire you. Because it's already configured. So why do we need this guy with this huge salary sitting there doing nothing? If it's automated. Yeah, something will break and they will, of course, they will understand it, but they will say, hey, it just breaks a few days, maybe a few hours a month, so how about we put this guy on a contract and he will come in for a few hours and fix the stuff. We don't need him to be in the office all the time, right? So that's probably going to be a threat for us, for our job. And this is good, this is how it should be. So we shouldn't be sitting on top of these scripts and controlling them. We should configure them in an automated way so that the system by itself knows how to deploy itself. We shouldn't know that. We should forget that. Like I'm saying, I have 20 projects. I'm going to show you one of them. And you will see the complexity of deployment. And I don't remember that. I configured it once, about a few months ago. And I never touch it again. And if I quit the project tomorrow, if I do something else, somebody else will join it. And it's still going to work. And they will understand how. That was my second problem. The logs. The problem number three is that when I was working in groups, there were many people, and like sometimes 25 different programmers, and some of them administrators, DevOps, or whatever. It's always a question, who knows the passwords? So this deployment script basically needs some sensitive information to deploy that. You cannot just run the script from any computer and the system will be deployed. There's some, if it's just a primitive FTP deployment, you still need to know the login and the password. You cannot just deploy. You cannot put this information into the script. That would be wrong, because in that case, anyone who can get access to the script can not only deploy, but destroy your system. So you need to somehow run this, usually what I've seen that the script is being executed and there are parameters. So you start deploy and then you give a few command line parameters. You say that the login is this and the password is that and another password is that, another password is that. So you connect somewhere and you use this sensitive information. And only I know this sensitive information because I'm the DevOps guy and I'm responsible for it. So the script by itself is not going to work unless somebody gives some sensitive information. Again, this is how it works for you, or you keep the data inside the script. You put your passwords into the script. You don't, right? Well, you shouldn't. Don't scare. You shouldn't do that. So that would be completely wrong. If you do it that way, stop doing it. All the sensitive information, I mean, at least the passwords. You can put logins in there, because logging without a password is not important. But all the passwords, they should be on your side somehow. You should not put them into your computer at all. You should keep them in some application which is secure, and then when you deploy, you take it out of that application, put it in the command line, you deploy it, and then you go, and then you don't keep it anywhere. That's how it should be. So that's the problem. What if there are 3 people in the team? So 3 of them need to know that sensitive information. So 3 of them need to know that secret password to the, say, database or to the deployment server. And even I can tell you more that in the proper DevOps configuration, the project also doesn't have to know this sensitive information. For example, when you package the Java application, this Java application is supposed to be deployed to, let's say, Amazon. And then on Amazon, it's supposed to connect to some database. And there's a question of how to connect. What's the password? So this password should not be stored inside the Java application, inside some configuration file. That would be wrong as well. It should also stay with you. So when you run the deployment script, you provide that password as well there. And then the packaging goes. And then this password is being embedded or injected somehow into the configuration of the application. And then you package it, the application is configured, the application is ready to be executed with that database, then you put it to production and it knows how to connect the database. Again, my question, do you keep a production password inside your configuration files in the application? You shouldn't. Okay, don't do that. You shouldn't do that. That will be completely wrong. So all this sensitive information, which is about passwords and security, has to be on my personal side. So it's in my computer, my laptop, and I know. That's how it should be. But the question is, what about there are 2 people, not just me, but a friend of mine, not a friend, but a colleague of mine, people working with me, maybe 3 people. So there are 3 administrators, 3 DevOps people who need to be able to deploy that stuff. I can do it today. On Tuesday, it's going to be another person. On weekend, it's somebody else. And then the emergency guy who can do it on any time if something goes wrong. So we all will have the password to the database. So then the database is corrupted and the database is hacked. And we lose the data. Who did that? Who lost the password? We don't know. Because it's the same exact password which is shared among 4 people. That's completely wrong concerning the security. So the password has to belong to one person always. We can't just give one password to 2 people. That's against the whole idea of security because, like I'm saying, if the password is lost, we don't know who lost it, who did that. Who maybe intentionally or unintentionally, who did that? We don't know because of this. I'm going to always say, you know what, this password was shared amongst 4 other people. Why are you blaming me? I didn't do anything, I didn't lose it, but somebody lost it. So we need to have different passwords, but we can't because it's only one password which is supposed to be in the application and the application goes there and it's a connection to it. That was my problem number 3. So it was always a question of how come, and that's how we were doing that. We were just sharing passwords. It was always a question, hey, can you give me the password for deployment? And as soon as I give that password, I know that, boom, this guy has full access to the production data. It's not good. So that's, again, am I triggering the right pain point? Do you have that? You can feel that? Okay, good. So the solution. The solution is that we created a hosted system. I'm going to show you how it works. How much time do we have? Still have some time. How many? 50. Oh, I'll be quick. Okay, so we created a system which is called this way. It's a hosted system which solves exactly these three problems. And I'll show you how it works. Demonstrate. So I'll show the application which I was talking about, which I created. This is the application. It's called JRIO. It's a CDN. It's a primitive CDN system which you can check it out later. But the point is that it's a Java application which is hosted on Heroku. So it's created in Java. It's not so big. It's not so difficult. But still, we need to deploy it to Heroku. And here, how we do it. Let's see. It's a GitHub. Who knows what GitHub is? Great. I'll show you how we deployed that system about 2 weeks ago. I deployed that system about 2 weeks ago. How we deployed it. So we had that problem. Somebody submitted me a ticket and saying that, hey, there's something doesn't work. So we tried with this guy. I don't know that guy, but maybe a girl. Maybe it's a girl. So that person submitted. Let's check it out. I assume it's a girl, right? Okay, so that girl, she submitted, why am I thinking it's a guy? It was a different icon. Okay, so she submitted the bug saying that I'm trying to do something with your system, it doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. And I'm saying, this is me. And I'm saying, hey, it's definitely a bug, we'll take a look now. It was April 7th. And then I made some commits, so I changed something. And then I'm saying, Rultor, I'm giving an instruction, it's a chatbot. So it's a system which is hosted somewhere, it has some servers, it checks the GitHub, it checks who's talking to the system on GitHub, and when I'm saying Rultor release tag is 0.3.5, the Rultor says, you see it answers me, it's a chatbot, so it says immediately answers me that, okay, I will release it now, please check the progress. And then in about 5 minutes, or 4 minutes, it says done, for your information, the full log is here. So let's check the log, so what exactly happened? This is the full log of how the server, the Rultor started a new process and tried to, it's quite cryptic here, so there are a lot of things here, you don't really need to look into details, but the main point is that it executed this. So it started a Docker container. So first of all, it got this machine, this Rultor service, it got the code from the GitHub, prepared it a little bit, and then started a Docker machine, the Docker container. And inside the Docker container, it made all the operations which I configured before. I'm going to show you how I configured it. And inside this Docker container, it made many things. It configured some permissions first, and then it installed some Ruby gems, and then it checked the Java version, and the Java version is good, 1.8, and then it executed Maven. It executed Maven for changing the version. It was done. Then it executed Maven again to build it actually. Yeah, that's the line. To build successfully, change the name, change the version. Then it executed this one saying that we need to package it, clean package, so to create a jar file. So it does some things, the Maven is working. It's all happening inside the Docker container. It was like that, everything was clean, build success. And after that, it did some manipulations for the Heroku. You don't know what Heroku is, but it's a quite popular platform for Java and Ruby applications where you deploy your stuff and you don't need to care about servers. You definitely need to take a look at it. It's quite popular. So it does the deployment to Heroku. It added some security things here, and then this is the log from Heroku. So we're actually getting the application to Heroku. We're getting this out already from that platform, and then that platform says launching, I'm ready, I'm going to run it, this is your URL. This is the URL where your application is working. It's deployed to Heroku. Then we're trying to do the curl to check how it works. After all this done, so we deployed that, and we're trying to check whether the application is still alive. So we got some answer from there, some XML, which means the application is alive. Then I'm saying I'm trying to revert something back, and then the container is dead. We're killing the Docker container. So basically what Rultor is doing is that it's getting and then I'll show you what exactly is happening. So the deployment script, which I created before, So instead of having it on my computer, I put it here, in this file, Rultor YAML. It's a configuration file which stays in this repository. So it stays together with the code. This is my Java code. This is the POM XML, if you know Java, and POM XML, and the source code, everything is there. So it's a perfect repository of the code. And then deployment script is also the code. So this is the configuration file, which basically says what to do when I say release. So this is all the operations which need to be done in order to deploy my source code, my Java code. Don't pay too much attention to how it works, you can take it later. But the idea is that this script knows exactly how to package everything, deploy it to Heroku, and check whether it works there. This script doesn't need me. All I did is I said here, Rultor release, and I gave the Rultor the tag 035. This is the only configuration parameter I provided to this script. The rest is done automatically. What do we have? The first problem is that the script has to run automatically and without myself. How it's done? Who knows what Docker is? Well, that's perfect. So here's the information. Look, I'm saying that run this stuff in the Docker image, and that's the name of the image. So in this Docker image, we have Java 8 pre-installed and everything pre-configured. So this is the Maven, Java, everything. I don't need to configure it locally on my machine. So in order to run this deployment script, I never run this script from my local machine anymore. I never deploy from my server, from my laptop anymore. I always do Rultor, this hosted service, start the Docker container, get my code into that container, that specific container, and then run all this stuff, which I pre-configured. If it fails, it fails, but it's going to run all this stuff and package everything and deploy to production. So if my laptop is dead tomorrow, I'm going to reinstall everything from scratch. I don't care, because I put all my configuration into the repository, and that's how it should be. The DevOps and the DevOps is a code. All the DevOps scripts, all the configuration of how you deploy must be inside your repository. The deployment script should not stay on your computer, should not stay on your deployment server. It's part of the code. When everything around the code dies and you change everything and you kill all the servers, you still have the repository which knows how to deploy itself. That's how it should be. In this case, we make it even further. We put this stuff in the configuration file, and we know that this configuration file will be understood by this Rultor server. It's not nothing. It's not really much to do with the Rultor, which is by the way a free service, so you can use it for free. You don't need to pay for anything, even if you have private projects. It's completely free service. And but if you really want to run it locally and to see how it works, you still can start a container, a Docker container locally, and execute that script inside the container, and it's going to work. Because you know the beauty of Docker. Docker actually every time starts the container, which is configured exactly the same way every time you start it. You don't care about, Docker doesn't care about the configuration of your operating system, everything around you. It always starts the container, which has what it has to have. So the first problem was solved. It's always, you remember the problem. The first problem was that I really need to stay together with my script. I really need to care about it. I really need to remember how to run it. Because if I change something, if the Java 8 is not installed on my computer, boom, I'm in trouble with this particular script. So I need first to install Java 8. In this case, the problem is gone. I don't need to install anything on my computer. All I need to have is the browser. And say release and give the information about the tag or the version. That's the first problem. The second problem about the, what was the second problem?
The logs.
Logs, that's right, sorry. Yeah. So the logs are here. You can see that in this case we see exactly what happened. The full log is here. We know what happened exactly, every line of code. And let me show you something. So I released version 0.3.5. And then I said, I'm talking to that girl saying, hey, I reproduced the problem here and fixed it here. Please try again and close the ticket if it works. And she says, no, still not working, the final blah, 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 it doesn't work. And I'm saying, that's because something has cached, and she says, no, I actually tested it, so she keeps complaining that I didn't fix the problem. And I'm saying, yeah, probably I did make a mistake, so I make a few more changes, and I'm saying, release version 0.3.6. So I'm saying again, release it again, and I'm getting the new log, which says, the Rultor says, oops, I failed, you can see the full log here. And I'm looking at here, and actually it failed. So this is the log which says I wasn't able to, yeah, I see that. I wasn't able to deploy. Let's check that log. So it starts like that. The start is the same. Was doing something here. Also starting the Docker container, also doing some Maven stuff. And then Maven crashes. For what reason? couldn't resolve dependencies, blah, blah, blah. So there's something is wrong, so probably couldn't find artifact. Yeah, something went wrong. So I wasn't able to release, and Rultor complained about that. Like, you failed, the deployment script failed on this specific point, but I know exactly when and where it failed. Then I'm trying again. I see it failed, and I'm doing it again. Rultor release, trying again. And Rultor tries again, and it says done. And it says done, the full log is here, about 6 minutes. And I'm again talking to her, saying, works for me, check it out, please close the ticket, and she says, thanks, it works okay now. So you see, like, I made 3 attempts. Deployment 1, it didn't work, I didn't fix the problem. Deployment number 2, it didn't work because something went wrong with the deployment script. Deployment 3, I managed to deploy it and I fixed the problem. It happened 23 days ago. I can get back to the situation and I can see exactly what happened in 3 cases. I can see that logs. How many of you can say that you can do exactly the same in your project? Just jump back and see, probably a few, which is perfect for you. How many like jump back and say that I can show you how it happened exactly in 23 days ago with that particular problem, how that problem was fixed and how we released that problem to production, even though there were some problems, mistakes, and how that mistakes were fixed. So that's the second problem, which is fixed. We have logs, full log. And the problem number 3 with the security information. So let me show you in that log. So we need this system is like I told you, this system is a CDN and it works with a number of DynamoDB in order to check who's logged in and who's inside. So DynamoDB is Amazon NoSQL database, which this system works with. So the system needs passwords for the DynamoDB. It needs to be able to connect us to the DynamoDB. And there's no information inside the source code ever. You cannot find it here inside the source code, which will tell you because it's open source. So this project is open source. You can go back home and check this project. It's in GitHub. All code is open, but there is no password to DynamoDB inside. And this password is being added to the code right before the deployment. Let me show you that line. Here it is. So the Rultor is adding, before pushing the code to Heroku, it's adding settings.xml, which contains all the configuration parameters for the maven. It adds this file to the repository and then pushes to Heroku. And when the Heroku says, I'm done, it removes that stuff from the repository. So first of all, it added there, repository, it contains the information, the sensitive information. It goes to Heroku. When Heroku says, I'm done, it removes it from repository. So the point is that this secret information is configured here, and again, in this configuration file. That's the line. So we're saying assets, and then settings.xml, and it says you're going to get that file from that repository, which is Yegor 256 whole. So that's a private repository. Nobody has access to it except myself. And that's the password to get it, in this folder. So that's where the secret file is stored. So I can give you, for example, any one of you access to that ticket. And you can say, release it again. And Rultor may listen to you, but you will not have access to the settings.xml file. Because only Rultor will go there, take that file from my private repository, use it during the deployment, and then not show it to you anyhow. So that's the problem number 3, which we solved. So the administrators are people who can release, and we have now about 25 projects where I'm not the only architect here. We have about 7 architects, 7 people who can release to production. And they do release to production, but none of them have access to any of the secret information. All the secret information stays in my repository. So every time they ask Rultor to release, the Rultor, this GitHub user, this machine, this chatbot, goes to my private repository, takes this stuff out of there, puts it to the folder where the build is running, the container, Docker container. And then it's available for the script. That's how it works. So that's probably it. That's what I wanted to show. The system is free. The system is absolutely open to anyone. You can try it. And we have about 300 projects right now working, not our projects, 300 people using that stuff for about 2 years already. Many different companies, people, private and public. So I think that's the solution. Maybe I'm not trying to sell you that system, just that system, but I'm trying to show you that something like that has to be in place. We should not run, the deployment scripts are dead. They should not be used. We should not have these deployment scripts on our laptops or on our deployment server. That's wrong. We need to put them somewhere. We need to, first of all, put them inside the repositories. They have to stay together with the code. And then we need to have some machine which knows how to get them out from there, run them, and execute. So that's it. If you have questions, you may ask them. No, then it's time for
Any questions?
Yeah.
How do you solve the problem?
Because the password, yeah, I'll repeat the question. So we take the password from, like I showed, like you see there, we take the password from my, here the configuration. So we take this file with passwords from my private repository. And then the question is, how do we solve, why this password is not shared among many people when many people can deploy? Because this password is taken, because only Rultor, when the Docker container is running, only Rultor is taking that password and using it. I'm sitting on my side and I'm sitting in front of the GitHub ticket. The Rultor is running on its own server, so nobody has access to that server, and nobody has access to that Docker container. So this file with the password is just placed there for the time of running the container. So none of the users, none of the people who are sitting here, so I'm the user and you're the user. We both connect to the same GitHub ticket. And you're saying release new version, I'm saying release new version, and we're talking there, we're giving instructions to the Rultor. And the Rultor is here, it's a server. So the Rultor only executes these instructions, and the Rultor gets passwords from some location. So we cannot access them, we cannot see what's there. So I have, like I'm saying, I have like many people who are actually deploying our projects to production, and none of them has no access to any security information, which is perfect, I think, for everybody. Yeah. Yeah, Jenkins is another solution. You can use Jenkins for that as long as you configure it the right way. So probably you can do exactly the same with Jenkins. Exactly. It's still a deployment script. Exactly. There's nothing. Yeah, exactly. You can. Yeah, absolutely. You can copy this stuff in here. You can copy this code, post it in Jenkins, configure your Jenkins that way. If Jenkins uses Docker, if you can configure it to use Docker, it's not difficult yet. You can configure Jenkins. If you can connect Jenkins, the only thing which is better in this case compared to Jenkins is because in Jenkins you need to give your developers access to Jenkins. First of all, you need to host Jenkins somehow. You need a machine for it. That's the first thing. In Rultor, you're just using our machine, so it's free. The second thing is you need to give access to Jenkins. So if you have 25 people, you need to create 25 accounts on your Jenkins and make sure that all these people log in there, and then you need to configure who of them can say deploy, who of them can click that button. So all these configurations is kind of, again, it stays away from the code. Do you know such chatbots? For example, yeah, if you use that one, then yeah, you can do that. If you can configure all that, you can configure your Jenkins, but Jenkins you need to host. That's the main difference. Well, I'm not sure about that. How much you're going to pay for the deployment server, for the build server? How much it's going to cost you if you build a Java application?
Okay, any more questions?
It's going to cost something. But anyway, in this case, it's a solution mostly for small projects, probably. So if your project is big and you have enough money for host your server and configure everything and get an administrator for that, then maybe you don't even need that. But in our case, in most cases, people don't need. They come to us with their open source projects, and then there's just one guy or a few people working on something open source. They don't want to be busy with configuring anything, which may be down sometimes. If you host Jenkins, you need to maintain that server. You need to make sure that it works for you, that it's 24/7. In that case, it's a service which is shared among many people. I mean, a few hundred projects using that. So a few minutes or maybe like a few times an hour, somebody's asking Rultor to deploy something, to release something, to deploy something. It's not going to happen with your Jenkins. So when it's daytime, Jenkins works. When it's nighttime, it's probably down. So this is a hosted solution. But yes, of course, you can configure something similar using your own stuff, using your own software, hosted software. Okay, collocated.
Okay, I will bring you.
Install.
No, maybe.
Shout from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it possible to release on different environments using this tool? Because, as I understood, you release only on prod, right? Is it possible to release on different?
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. You can configure. So look at this. This is the parameter. which we're giving to the script, so this one. So we're saying tag is this one. You can give many parameters. You can say tag is this and the destination is
But
this.
this is need to be configured inside the.
Yeah, you have to go into the script of configuring. You say if it equals to production, we do that. If it's something else, if it's something else. So you can make your script quite complex, which will decide which way to go. If we need to deploy to staging, then we give the parameter. It says go to staging. It's going to be one piece of script. So you can make it as complex as possible. Yeah,
Okay.
we've had that situation.
Another question is probably related to first one. What about rollbacks? So rollback instructions you write inside the same test.
Well, put it there. Yeah, put it into the script. Yeah, if you want to do the rollback, if you're so sophisticated, your deployment is so smart, and you want to do rollback, then just write your scripts for the rollback.
And you give a different tag number.
We are doing every time the new number, the new release number, which helps us to track what goes on. And then if you go to the system, you can see which one is the latest deployed. See? So when we deploy it, we put this number into the Java application, and it goes to production together with this number embedded into the code. So then when it's deployed, when it's running, then you can see here what's the number. The number is 036.
But is it possible to track the same release, because I release the development environment, then staging, then I roll back. I need to see logs in one place, let's say. And in this case, you showed we need to go to a separate releases and then open.
If you want to categorize your logs, you're saying, yeah? You want to see which logs belong to production, which logs belong to staging?
No, I need to see which logs belongs to a particular release, because you release the same.
Well, yeah, I got it. So we're doing this. I didn't show that, but probably could be interesting. So every time Rultor is deploying something, it creates the release in GitHub. There you go. So in GitHub, we have this button releases. When you go there, you can see that all this stuff is release 3036, this is release 035, release 034. So Rultor creates this stuff, and every time explains what happened. So it says, see this ticket, this is the release log, what exactly went there, released by Rultor, it says what's my version of the Rultor, and it says the build log is here. So you can always jump into this page, which is quite nicely formatted for open source project. That's also one thing which you would not do manually, or you would need to write some code for it, some software. So we can see, you see that all the deployments which happened, they're here. So I can see them one by one. So I can see everything like where it happened, what was the ticket, what changes were deployed, and the build log. And also the source code, I can download what was exactly the source code which was deployed. So it's quite convenient. This is the GitHub functionality, we just connect to it. The Rultor inside just connects to it and automates the creation of this release.
Okay.